Good evening, ladies and gents. As you are coming in, if you can see my screen and you can hear my voice, please raise your hand on the Zoom application so that I know that we're in business. Thank you very much, hands coming in. Evening, ladies and gents. It is the 29th of September 2021 for the Trader series. My name is Njabulo Nsibande. Simon is still, will be joining us a bit later in the year, and he's not in any positions, and that's pretty much because largely the U.S. markets are pretty much still in a range. It's like when you look at the S&P 500. When you look at the S&P 500 entering into a range, slipping below the 50-day exponential moving average. So could be stuck between that 1,000 rand odd, that $100 odd rather, a range between 4,300 and 4,400. And when you look at the Russell 2000, has been sideways pretty much, since the beginning of the year. It's not going anywhere below that 2300, 2350 level. And also, when you look at the Nasdaq, also slipping just below that 50-day exponential moving average. So what Simon did is he picked one side of the market. He's only going to go long. He's ignoring the short side of the market. And what that does is protects you from a sideways market. That in when an index gets into a sideways market, you don't get continuously getting whipsawed. At least you're taking one side of that pain, because man, if you're trying to get both, both sides of the 721 the entire year on the Russell 2000 ball, you would have been, wiped quite properly. But at least halved that if you only pick one side of a market. I got stopped in a couple of trades. I got stopped yesterday on Netcare. I took a slight profit, just under 1%. I think it was 0.5% there. Nothing too big. I took a 1% loss on Mr. Price. That bullish divergence didn't play out there. Slipping back below that 50-day, the 200-day exponential moving average. So I think the Mr. Price could find some support there around that 178 level. So for now, I'll be staying on the sidelines until it comes back above that 50-day exponential moving average. I also got stopped on clicks. Think at a bagged 2% profit on clicks, as it slips below that 200 that 50-day exponential moving average. And yeah, I think that 277 level could hold as support. If that fails, we'll see the stock coming back to test the 200-day exponential moving average, perhaps. That 263 prior resistance there. So we could see a bit of selling off on clicks. I wonder if there was a divergence as that stock made a higher high. Let's quickly check. I want a stochastic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a massive divergence there. The price was making higher highs, but if you look at the oscillator was making lower lows around that, signaling at least, at the very least, a short term top. That bearish divergence looks like that bearish divergence is playing out, and I think we could see that 263 level, being the defender of clicks. So for now, I'll be staying on the sidelines for quite some time on clicks. And I got stopped on Life Healthcare. Yeah, that tiny break caught me, but I did take quite a decent profit. I think I came up with about 5% profit on this trade. So I'm just gonna wait for it to come back above that 24.87 level, and I think that's about it. Coming back to look at the open trades. Aspen starting to look like a lot like that distal trade, moving quite nicely. Let me just delete that. Moving quite nicely. So if you look back into weekly charts on Aspen, and you look back between in that period between. Let me jump back into a monthly chart. If you look at that period between 2014 and 2018 until that crash there, this 240 price has been a strong defender of price. The market remembered, and once the market broke, it just never looked back. And the next level that I'm waiting for a breakthrough is around that 260, 296 level, to add to my position and raise my stop. Behind me, I'm sitting at about plus 20% profits on this trade at the minute. Looking quite, this trade in MTN are looking quite like a gem at the moment. Let me jump back to the daily charts. And if you look at the, we're not that far away from that 296 level. Astral Foods, I think it's going to come back to test that old resistance, what used to be resistance, to test it to see if it holds a support. If it does hold a support, I'm going to wait for it to break back above that 183 level, at which point I'll raise my stop to just below the low of the swing low there, and add to my position. AVI, I wonder if it's going to close this gap. I wonder if it will. But I don't think we'll take out the low of the gapping candle. So I'm gonna wait for it to close back above, to make a new high, close back above that 89.20, and I'll raise my stop to just below the low of that swing low, and add to the position. Balo moving quite nicely, breaking all kinds of levels. I was waiting for that 110, 110.80 level. I wrote a full article on Balo. The price I was really waiting for was that 110.80, and it broke both the levels that I was waiting for to build a long-term position on Balo. So I'll raise my stop, straight after this. I'll raise my stop to 106, and add to my position, moving, immediately slightly into profitability on this trade. Capitec forming a nice ascending triangle pattern, but having a tough time breaking out. So I'm just waiting. I'm going to wait for close through that 1909 level, at which point I'll raise my stop either to that, what is it, 1819 or 1850, depending on how the breaks. If it's an aggressive break, a high volume break, I'll raise my stop to around that 1850 level. Coronation coming back below that 52 rand resistance. I entered as it was breaking out there. Um, I did turn today, so we'll see over the course of the week how Coronation will perform. But the level that I'm really hoping that once we break it, and I'm still holding my position, is that 56 rand level. If I can break that level, and I'm still holding my position, and perhaps built it up such that carry no risk going into those levels. Discam looks like it's making a higher low. Hasn't taken out that low as yet. Also entered on a bullish divergence. So we'll see if it comes back above that 50-day exponential moving average around the 30 rand level. See that means that bullish flag. That's um, a bullish divergence starting to play out, and likewise I'm also the price that I'm really waiting for and hoping to get there with a decent position is that 32.45 level. If I can break that level while I hold my position, that'd be quite lekker. Distal starting to move again. I think I'm going to move my stop to that 174 level, just below that 50-day exponential moving average, without necessarily adding to the position. We'll see how it behaves and how it reacts as it starts to move higher. Perhaps as days goes by, we probably getting closer and closer into insight into that Heineken deal. And perhaps the price the price movement is telling us something about that deal. First rand broke out of that ascending triangle pattern. I raised my stop to just below that 50-day exponential moving average, and took a position today. I'm waiting for now that 66 rand level, a level that was quite respected on a weekly chart when you go back in time. So I'm gonna wait for a close through that 66 rand level. And I'll assess then when to place my stop loss. Glencore also breaking out, starting to move back higher. Now I'm going to wait for a close through 72 Rand, and I'm going to then raise my stop to, because we had that nice gap and drive there. Raise my stop to halfway through that gap. Want to get through that 72 Rand level, and then add it to my position. Investec starting to move into a higher box. I'm still gonna remain reserved not rush into adding into this position. I'm gonna wait for it to pull back to test the base of the higher box, and if it breaks back higher into and reestablishes establishes itself into this higher box, and then starts to add to the position and raising my stop to around that 60 rand 50, and perhaps around that 63 rand as well. Sorry about that. Momentum bouncing off that 50-day exponential moving, and it looks like buyers are starting to win that tug of war. But the tell sign would be that close through that 20 rand 80. Want to get through that level, I'll kind of now be more certain that buyers are starting to win this battle, and the stock is ready is ready to start moving again. MTN making a new 52-week high close today. I'm gonna raise my stop to just below that 50-day exponential. I did actually move it just before we started, but I said I'll park it to the end to that 122 level, and I think that puts my profitability at around 38 rand, 31%. So that means I'm going to be adding 4% into this position at the open tomorrow. Um, Liking how MTN is moving at the minute, and then after that I'll wait for a close through that 150 level, and then again add to the position. At which point I believe I'll have my stop around that 132 rand, 132 rand and some change. Netbank uh, finding some support around that 50-day exponential moving average. Um, so I'm just going to wait for close through that 177 level and a new high close around that 188 level. If we can get through 188 and 194, we'll see the stock really start to move. And I think the bank are starting to pick up a bit of momentum. And I have upside, which I'll get to in a moment. Banks are looking quite like they're looking like they're gaining momentum at the moment, as you saw with the ascending triangle pattern there on Capitec. Napier Castle. Someone is just dumping some shares around that 105 and not moving, not budging one little bit. But as evident of higher lows, looks like the buyers are still in control of the territory. But we'll wait for the close through that 105 level to see that buyers have taken territory, and I'll raise my stop to around that $100 level, and add it to my position. Or Mutual Garden Go. I'm gonna raise my stop to around that 14 rand 70, just below that 50-day exponential moving average, and add to my position at the open tomorrow. Remgro also, small consolidation a little bit. If you trade smaller time frames, this was a nice falling wedge with a target at that 135 level. So for now, I'm gonna wait for that 144 level, unless this 135 holds much longer as resistance. At which point, once it's then broken, I'll then consider adding to my position. Rand Merchant, so it's still consolidating since that gap higher. I can't remember. I believe it was a value unlock since announcement. It's similar to that of Telkom. So I'm gonna wait for close through that 37 rand 50. At which point I'll raise my stop to around that 35 rand and some change and add to my position, or perhaps that 34 rand 20 isn't a bad idea either. Sanlam, nice giant ascending triangle pattern there. If you can get through that 64 and 90, this we'll see the stock starts to run after bouncing off that 50-day exponential moving average. That death crossing, golden cross, crisscrossing. all over the place. But if we can get through that 64 and 90, or pull my stop to around that 59 rand and some change, and add to my position. Sassel, broke through that after coming back to. I got stopped when it was retesting that 50-day exponential moving average, but I just jumped back in as that 250 level was a level I was waiting for to add to a position. So I just jumped back in. So for now, I'm waiting for a close through the 305. At which point I'll raise my stop to around that maybe 260. But we'll see with price action in between now and then. Shoprite found a bit of selling consistently, over the past couple of weeks around that 190 level. Coming back to around that 50-day exponential moving average to test those lows. But today's low hasn't violated that lows yet. So that's I suppose defending 50-day exponential moving average could come in as a defender there. But I'm gonna wait for a close through that 190 level. At which point I'll raise my stop and add to the position. Standard Bank also holding that 50-day exponential moving average. I'm waiting for a close through that 148 level, at which point I'll raise my stop to 136 or 133, and add it to my position. Telkom forming a tight little flag looking thing. But if we can close through that 45 rand level, there's a good chance that we won't come back to test the low of the doji just above that 44 rand level, which used to be resistance, holding this past week, since that announcement that the company will unbundle the towers business, and also looking to unbundle OpenServe in the future as well. So the market really liked that announcement, jumping quite, I think, about 14% on the day. So if I can get through that 45 rand level, I'll add to my position and raise my stop to around that 42 rand level. But I want Telkom above that 48.80 level, and even much better above the, if it makes a new high close above 49 rand and some change. But I'm comfortable with 48.80. Transaction Capital moved properly, establishing itself into a higher box, but because of that volatility, I'm just gonna wait for that close through that 41 rand level before I can add it to the position, because I don't want to lose a position over volatility. So I'm gonna play my game, my game of hide and seek properly, and try to avoid my stop being hit as much as I possibly can. Vodacom, I'm waiting for a close through that. I added to a position as it was breaking through that overhead resistance there. Um, telcos are starting to step on the gas a little bit. So I'm waiting for close through that 153, that old resistance level there, that 153.50 level. At which point I'll add to my position and raise my stop behind me. And last but not least is Woolies. Um, I think I'm going to get stopped on Woolies. I think I'm going to get stopped probably tomorrow. I'd be surprised if I'm not. If this resistance level, downtrend resistance level breaks, continues to hold, I think I'm going to get stops out unless something miraculous happened. But I think I'm going to be out of the trade probably tomorrow. So that's it. So I did new trades that I'm going to be picking up tomorrow. I'm going to be buying some APSA as it breaks back above that 148 level. I'm closing the day at one just under 150. So I'm going to put my stop around at 136.50. Barlow's one that we touched on. The rest is also on Pepco. Pepco moving back into that higher box after looking like it's closing that gap that was caused by Steinhoff selling off the Pepco holdings at a discount. So it looks like the market is shaking off that. That's why I'm going to be jumping back into this trade with a stop loss around that 19 grand level on Pepco. So some chat requests from Twitter. A stock coming in the New York Stock Exchange. I don't. I don't. Nothing good happens below the 200-day exponential moving average, and I think we should just let's see if that holds. Let's see if that $30 that $30.90 level holds. There's a good probability that it could, and a good time to buy, I would suppose, is back above when it closes back above the 200-day exponential moving average, preferably around that $40.50. And also got a chart. So if you're gonna enter above that 40 rand 50 with a stop loss, say at just below these lows here or wherever the swing low is adding at, you could put a price target at around 54 rand. That's not a bad risk reward ratio there, and we could also just stretch, have a second profit target around that 63 rand as well. But I don't typically, I'd rather be adding to my position as it breaks through those levels. But those would be, if you were short-term trader, those would be great, risk reward, good risk reward ratio opportunities on Neo. Looking not too bad, but let's wait for it to come back above that 50-day exponential moving average. At this point in time, I'm a little bit bearish. Let's see, how it behaves around that. What is that? 30, around $30. Let's see how it behaves around the $30 support. But yeah, if it comes back above 40.50, that's looking quite like a decent trade. And then PPE, the purple group. I haven't looked at this chart in a while. I saw Simon tweeting about it earlier this morning. That someone was selling quite a chunk of purple, but they sold it down to today's low as went as low as 125, but pretty much came close where it opened. Still, this chart is still quite bullish, which is why I don't particularly like trading. I like purple as a stock. I like purple as a company. I hold it in a personal portfolio. But as an instrument to trade, no, I don't like instruments that that are this volatile. So you can imagine if you want to if I were to trade it the way that I normally trade, I would have to take a position, with a close through that 164 rand, with look at the gap, where my stop would be. So as an investment, it's a great stock, and looking like it's in a great trend as well. So that's it from my end. If you have questions, if you have a chart request, so El Rich is looking for USD ZAR. Let's look at USD ZAR. That's looking quite positive. Coming back, uh, um, coming back above that 50-day exponential moving average after making a massive higher high. Let's see if let's watch that 1565 level, average. Let's watch that 1685 level. If we can break through that 1685, there's a good short rand short trade. They're targeting, you know that downtrend there has been quite broken. You could target 19 rand quite easily. Take some time, but it's a level that you could target on USDs. Quite bearish from a technical point of view on our end. Bitcoin, BTC, USD. I don't like that price action at all. But consistently closing below that 50-day exponential moving average, we could, if the 200-day exponential moving average does around that $42,000 level, if it doesn't defend, if it fails to defend Bitcoin, we could see another aggressive sell-off, similar to that of earlier in May, but down to around $30. There's a good chance we could see Bitcoin to around $30 in the near future, if that 200-day exponential moving average doesn't hold quite well. So Muhammad is, if I should be looking at Nsibande. At the moment, I'm not in any PGM, in any PGM stock. So I made a call. It was earlier this year on a short call. I don't trade, so I don't trade short. So I just normally play around with the ideas here, and it looks like it hit target, on Nsibande. I even forgot about all drawings. Let's remove all of that. I'm I'm not convinced at this moment in time. I'm not convinced that that 45 rand level will hold as support. I'm not quite convinced. That fall was quite heavy, but it could hold. But let's see over the next few days. But I'm not convinced that that 45 rand level will hold as support at the moment. And secondly, I'm gonna wait for the stock to come back probably around the 65 rand level before I can start entertaining this trade, because also if you can see, it looks like there's a potential head and shoulders pattern setting up here, and it's quite massive. It could be quite massive if this 45 rand level holds, and and it fails to power through that 200-day exponential moving average, you could see a massive head and shoulders pattern. Let me jump into weekly. Yeah, we could see the market coming to as low as around 31 rand and possibly to around 16. So PGMs at the moment, I'm staying away. So all PGM and gold miners as well, they're not looking from technical. The technical picture is not looking very very good at the moment. So, ladies and gents, if you have questions or chat requests, you can feel free to pop them in the Q&A box or on the chat box. If there's not any coming in, I'm going to give it a minute. ARM, let me just come back here rather because this. So, I was looking at African Rainbow Minerals earlier just before we went on. This is again PGMs. It looks like the right side on the PGMs is the short side, and it just violated a 50-week exponential moving average. In fact, let me do this. Let's do this. Let's remove all these so we have a much cleaner chart. So here we have a stock that fails to hold what was resistance to hold it as support, and it did here, but this time it's failed, violating that 50-week exponential moving average. We could lower the bar a little bit for the stock, but it doesn't look any good at whatever level that you pull it down to. I suppose we could test out that 177 level if it will hold out. But odds are, the odds are against it. So I wouldn't be surprised if the stock comes back to around that 95 level. On the stock, but perhaps somewhere, maybe at 140, and if this 184 fails to hold in support, maybe around 140. But I think there's still the selling is not over on these PGM stocks. Also, it was ex-div today. So then perhaps the 184 level would be the ex-div would be the savior. Maybe it was forced down by ex-div. I apologize. I wasn't aware it was ex-div. With that gap. Let's see if the market adjusts to that dividend. Ladies and gents, I'm not seeing questions coming in. Oh, 20 Rand dividend, no wonder. Yeah, that's about $20, that gap there. That's about 20 Rand gap. So makes a bit of sense with a bit extra rands there. Guys, thank you very much for coming in. I really appreciate you taking the time. We're gonna park it here for this evening. The video will be up in a couple of hours. I'm gonna upload it straight after this. If you have questions or anything of that sort or chat requests, feel free to pop me an email, Njabulo at villagetrader.co.za, and also feel free to pop Simon an email, simon at justonelap.com. Otherwise, guys, have a great evening. Let's do this again next Wednesday. Cheers.